Hi, Nicole Meltzer here, and today I want to answer a question that many people ask, and that is, what does it feel like to trance channel? So, trance channeling is when you open up your energy field to allow another energy or entity to come in and speak through you. So, in other words, use your body and your voice to relay a message. It's a very efficient way to bring messages or guidance from celestial bodies. And it's also a way that requires some adjustment. So for myself, I channel the Trilumini. They are the third set of guides that I have trance channeled. And for each set of guides, I have always had a wooing period where we get to know each other. We get to understand how our energies flow together. We create our own intuitive language together. And we make sure that our energy vibrations are on a compatible level. And the reason for that is the first time I trance channeled, I didn't match my vibration to that of the energies that I was channeling at that time. And I would come out of the trance and have a splitting headache and a couple of times feel a little bit nauseous too, until I realized this is what I needed to do. I needed to raise my vibration in order to be closer to theirs or match theirs. So that's a little bit about the preparation for trancing. Now, the moment that I go into trance, let me describe that to you a little bit. So I have my eyes closed, and anytime I'm connecting into my intuition, I'm making a very conscious intention to connect to source energy. So what I do is I get myself still and quiet inside, and in other words, let that all inner chatter kind of finish speaking, and then there's a little bit of silence there that happens, and in that second, that's when I connect in. I kind of plug into source energy, that flow of energy that is around us all. And when I do that, my crown, I feel the like a white light kind of energy coming in through my crown, the top of my head. And as it's coming down and getting closer to the third eye and my actual eyes, I know that the trance is about to make its transition. In other words, I'm kind of stepping aside and the Trilumini are coming in. I perceive things in their dimensions to kind of shift. There's almost like a morphing that happens. And so when I speak of dimensions, I'm not talking about how some people talk about, 3D versus 5D, and I'm not speaking that. I'm actually speaking about the way that we perceive things with our visual eye. So for instance, take this case. So with this case, with my eyes, I perceive it in its three-dimensional form, right? It's got a height, a width, a depth. And I see it as you would see it with your eyes. That moment when I'm beginning to trance channel, what happens is it's as if it starts to open up. It's almost like when flowers open their petals and it opens up. It opens up and it comes closer to me. And I feel like everything that would be within my visual scan, if I were to open my eyes, everything that I could perceive with my eyes will come about this close to me, so about that far away from my eyes. And it doesn't feel claustrophobic in any way. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm suffocating. It's quite the opposite, actually. There's this expansion kind of feeling. And I even can perceive, the dust particles in the air coming closer. It's everything just kind of opens up and comes closer. So if I was to use some words for this, I would say it's as if I see the uniqueness in everything, yet everything is one at the same time. And that's a tough one to kind of wrap your mind around, especially if you're analytical like me, because believe it or not, I am a very analytical person. And that is my best way of describing what I perceive in a visual kind of way, even though my eyes are closed. It's a visual kind of way. So I know that's kind of like my little check mark that says, okay, they're in, because our eyes are beginning to change. And which I will say a side note too, which is kind of interesting because my glasses are, my prescription is very, very strong. I do not have great eyesight. So it's interesting to kind of perceive things that I can see things better that way. So in that moment, when that starts to happen, I know that's the point when I, as Nicole, step aside and allow the Trilumini to access my voice, my mouth, all of the muscles around my mouth to form the words, and to my mind to access my vocabulary, all of the words that I have available to them. And I think that's a really important point to make for anybody who channels, whether it is connecting to guides, to loved ones who have crossed over, just intuitive thoughts, daydreamers, anything. When that energy comes through you, it still has to be filtered by you. So there is still an element of you there. And that is why so many different intuitives have very different ways of saying the exact same message. So you could go to a psychic fair, for instance, and see multiple psychics, and they'll give you specifics that are very, very different. Yet if you kind of go up a level and look at what is the message overall, you'll have the same message overall. So, so the same thing happens when we're trancing. They have to use my mind to translate it into the English words that I'll use, and use my English vocabulary. What's interesting is that often their phrases will be very different from the phrases that I use in everyday life. Yet they're words I know. They never say words that I don't know. And so they're there, and they get formulated in a way that can be quite interesting to hear at times. So when I step aside, when I say that, it's not that I leave my body. I don't. It's almost, I shouldn't say it like that. It's almost as if here's this container, and I kind of take like a little side step within the container. So the container would be more like my aura as opposed to my physical body. So I'm still within my aura. You can still feel it around. My son actually said this put this in an interesting way the other day in one of our classes with our flow members, which he's a part of. Somebody asked him, how does he perceive when the Trilumini come through me? And he can feel them, but he can also feel me too. And of course I'm his mom. He knows my energy, so he can feel my energy, and he can feel the different energy stamp that is the Trilumini, which is kind of cool to see how he processes that too. So I kind of step aside within my aura. They do their speaking, and as they're bringing their messages through, I get visuals and I get knowings of what it is that they're trying to say and how they're accessing it through my mind's vocabulary. So I almost get like an extra level to the message that they're speaking through me. So I hope that answers some of your questions about trance channeling. Feel free to reach out anytime. I love talking about this. And, if you're interested in trying to develop your own intuitive skills, because I believe we all have them, I'd love to have you as a part of our Flow membership. And just reach out. I will see you soon.